my name is...
If life taught me one thing, is that you should never trust bald people. You never know if they are nice or not, because acting is their most common profession, which is nothing compared to those eggheads who are hiding underage girls in their basements. Honestly, I prefer my bald men having simple hobbies such as cooking. Oh, god damn it. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of squeezing even more content from a 17-year-old game. Today I have been tasked to come up with something original and new to say about the so-called most linear class in the game. Screw you if you think Heavy is boring. His gameplay provides some of the most intense and dynamic features, such as walking in a straight line for a few minutes just to get instantly fragged by a phony Australian who hasn't left his spawn in centuries, or holding left click so well the entire French military will show up to confiscate your spine. Even the precious snack that I will not be mentioning again in this video will not save you from the fat man's fate. You are destined to die over and over again if your enemies are further than 5 meters away from you. For all of you American viewers, that's about 4 Donald Trumps and 7.5 Glocks per 1 restraining order in distance. Speaking of America, I'd love to see this country 10 years later after those MAGA guys rolling over and turning the burger country from this to this. Well, I better stop being political before we get to the part where I discover Heavy is Russian. So excuse me for a moment, I shall now move on to the title screen. Welcome to the Heavy Review! It is common knowledge that all TF2 classes are mentally disabled. Just like the players. Some of them decided that the best way to walk upstairs is blasting their legs with an explosive rocket launcher, while others have an ego of a mercy main who brags about reaching plat. But surprisingly, our minigun-loving Russian is quite intelligent and smart. The Meet the Heavy animation is not only the very first Meet the Classes video, which is very clearly visible with how little is happening, and the famous T-posing sniper. You watch TF2 animations for the lore, I watch them to see how will they mess up Sniper this time. From the limited amount of dialogue, we get to know all the basic stuff, like who is this guy, what is his arsenal, and what he knows about your mom.
She weighs 150 kilograms.
This obsession with his weapons is a big part of his character, where even his side hoes, I mean guns, are all named after different females he sacrificed to transfer their souls into the metal parts of each firearm of his. Just kidding, I made this up. But you couldn't tell, this is Team Fortress 2 after all. This love is also shown in the comics, and honestly, it's adorable. They even gave some voice lines to Scout where he brags about having a romantic relationship with each of the gun barrels. Honestly, it's easy to misinterpret Heavy as just another psychopath, but the truth is, he's just a man who really enjoys firing his favorite weapon. And honestly, I don't blame him, but I'll talk about that in more detail in the gameplay segment. In the comics, he gets a lot of love, showing his family and making him and Soldier family. How lovely. He's also presented as a very calm, caring and brave man, with him fighting burst casually, you know, as Russians do. Heavy's relationship with his family is sweet to say the least. Just look at this panel. Just look at this. You can tell he has the mega baboon heart, cause man, it is huge. I could write an entire essay how Heavy is the ideal man figure, balancing strength and love, muscle and delicacy. But what's even better is that he isn't like that only to his family, but also to the rest of the TF crew. The scene where he fights the classic Heavy is fueled with that revenge hunger, showing that even though to Medic all of his colleagues are just living experiments, to Heavy the Medic was a real ally, a friend who is worth fighting for, and that's just awesome to see. This Medic-Heavy relationship can also be seen in a lot of fan arts that I will not be showing in this video due to the oversaturation of meat, but Valve is clearly endorsing this dynamic with expiration date, bringing back the classic Uber Heavy move that can also be seen in the end of the line and Meet the Medic. Heavy hits this sweet balance where I can with full confidence say he is the equivalent of Uncle Iroh from Avatar: The Last Airbender, and if you know that guy, you know exactly how right I am. For the comedic fat guy, Heavy isn't actually that fat. No, like, I'm serious about this one. He's built like a wall for sure, but compared to other actual fatties gaming has to offer, such as Roadhog, Stitches, Gragas, or your mom, Heavy might as well be a fitness influencer on Instagram. I think that's because of the all-reliable excuse that TF2 is an old game, and comically obese back then was considered to be this. Already mentioned the fact Heavy is bald, which fits him very well, combined with a strong chin and huge volume of his entire head makes him a great target. I mean, strong-looking tank. I adore how he waddles on his tiny legs, especially when he has his minigun out. It almost looks like he's just a harmless man, but as soon as the gun barrel starts spinning and the first bullets begin to come out to pierce through the enemies, you know he means business. The smile that always accompanies him whilst shooting is also a subtle feature that makes this character feel so alive and charismatic. Speaking of the gun, its shape and design is super iconic, but I am here to give an unbiased review, so I must let you on a little secret. You see this? Look closer. Yeah, that's right. Heavy's minigun has no trigger to shoot.
Unplayable garbage.
The secondary weapon is the classic shotgun, very well known to other classes, which makes Heavy look at least stupid holding the weapon the size of his penis. Heavy doesn't have any other meaningful secondaries, so now moving on to his melee weapon, that is the Heavy himself. You heard me right. This guy doesn't need no object to fight with, because when he does even less damage than before. I think that this design choice was a phenomenal decision, opening up a completely different melee weapons arsenal that are the gloves. Plus, it's super satisfying to beat up people with bare fists in any game. There are games where punching stuff is the main mechanic of the game, like Geometry Dash that makes some players punch a hole in their screens, but if that sounds too primitive for ya, then remember you can always use your fists to put an imaginary yet lethal bullet to the enemy's heads if they just so happen to walk in front of you while you do some silly animation. And also screw you, Valve, for making Heavy the only class in this game who is unable to do a backflip. That's just targeted harassment. And while on the topic of taunts, I'll just squeeze in the actual horrifying smile Heavy does in the director's vision taunt. What has this man seen to provoke such vibrant reaction? Naturally, I will not skip the classic drippity drip segment, and here I present my magnum opus of TF2 loadouts, that is the War Hood and War Goggles combo. See, it's good because they both start with a W. These two go very well with any other long sleeve cosmetic, but I chose this thing because it is multi-class and I am poor. So if you want to support this channel and my not so heavy wallet, make sure to fist that subscribe button. And speaking of fisting, it's time to make the enemy team eat shit with my bare hands. Apparently, Heavy is the most linear class in the entire game. That is completely false. Even the stock loadout of Heavy allows for many ways to play him. You can either go the default way of melting any enemy on your way with your minigun, or you could play as an original subclass I have invented just for this review. It is called the Obese Engineer. By utilizing your shotgun and protecting your buildings, you can become a real Texan, but overweight. Okay, seriously though, when you compare Heavy to classes like Soldier or Spy, he does seem like there's absolutely nothing interesting going on. But in reality, Heavy relies on a completely different playstyle than all the other 8 classes. As Heavy, you will not focus on mobility or flashy plays, but rather mastering the art of positioning. This naturally means that Heavy might not be the most clip-making class, as most of his gameplay highlights come from accurate setups and consistent gunning down, opposite to singular lethal shots from Sniper or massive dopamine instant kills from Spy. And speaking of these two, they are, in my opinion, 2 best counters for a Russian meatball. Spies can easily abuse you when you are focused on gunning someone down, as in order to kill someone, you need to constantly have your crosshair on your enemy, and the constant sound of your minigun shredding isolates you even more from the environment around you, which makes you the prime target for all the rats. Snipers, on the other hand, take advantage from your lack of effectiveness on long range, where you poke them with a whopping 5 or 10 damage if you're lucky. They can click on you once and instantly delete you. Anyone that understands that Heavy needs to constantly have you in his sights in order to shred you can counter you by simply playing the corners and only shooting you for that split second they peek you, making all single shot classes also capable of fully countering you, which are... wait, let me think. Alright, that's all of them, except Pyro. You counter pyros pretty well. In order to have an advantage over your enemies and make them regret making eye contact with you is to simply rev jump, which is simple jumping and spinning your gun midair to make use out of that air momentum as much as possible. Any kind of mobility for the slowest class in the game is crucial in order to make him as effective as possible. This way you are the one jumping and peeking your enemies, giving them little to no time to hide, which is perfect because even if they react in time, your health allows you to suck up all the damage taken and absolutely annihilate anything that dared to try and challenge you. Honestly, the stock loadout for heavy renders your fists useless unless you want to try and imitate H2 for some stupid reason, as close range combat is already covered by I don't know, the rest of your goddamn arsenal. I also tried to spice up my gameplay by looking up what are the correct ways to play heavy, and I stumbled upon the official TF2 wiki article, where half of it is dedicated to telling you that in order to properly play heavy, you need to get a medic. So naturally, I went outside a few years ago, bothered some poor female I met until she agreed to be my girlfriend. Couple of years later, I proposed to her, all of that so I could ask her today to be my official pocket medic. All of that effort just to get reassured that heavy, no matter how much you try, no matter how much you sweat, and no matter how much flowers you buy, will always get countered by either the Aussie bushman or the smelly French agent. Conclusion! People usually complain that heavy is boring because he's sluggish and slow, but honestly, I'd never expect a car shredder to be zooming around the map. His purpose is simple: you get close, you die. A simple class to pick up by new players and a very nice breakaway from the usual explosive jumping shenanigans. Heavy is just another chess piece on the board. It might not be as effective as the others, but he makes the entire board feel whole. We have the fast running douchebag, so just like yin and yang, we have a friendly and likable slow man. He fits the game perfectly and usually creates very fun interactions when you encounter him in the enemy team. It's like a mini boss you need to face or respect or insta-kill with a BS mechanic. Heavy will end up with a score of 4 beef out of 4 bacon. I hardly doubt anyone would say they hate playing heavy. He might not be the most fun or super interesting always picked class, but every now and then when you do play him, it's such a refreshing experience. It's wonderful to sometimes lay back and just brainlessly gun the moving targets, or go on a tryhard spree and become the menace of the lobby with a 450 health pool. As always, don't forget to let me know down in the comments what class would you like me to review next, and the time has come for the random tangent outro. I'd like to ask you guys, what is your favorite homemade healthy shake? You know, the mixture you make by dumping some fruits and vegetables in a long pot and blending it all together for a refreshing drink. I need more of that in my life, and so far my go-to shake is bananas and a small piece of an apple with some milk and cinnamon sprinkled in. 10 out of 10 would recommend to everyone unless you're lactose intolerant. So yeah, please share your mysterious potions recipes and I'll be more than happy to try them out. Other than that, if you enjoyed the video, then you know what to do with those buttons below. Join my Discord server that is linked below in the description. And yeah, thanks for watching. Have a lovely day. Bye bye.